And good morning. It's 7:04 on this Monday, December 30th. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Here on a Monday morning, we're getting started as usual for Absolute Kubota. We welcome you to our program this morning. Out there, it's a little cloudy and overcast, but it's going to be a magnificent Monday, so we're glad to have you with us. And we are on the air for Absolute Kubota without Matt Bryson and without Clint Kelly this morning, but we have Susie James. Susie, good morning.
Good morning. You brought in the tractor expert, didn't you?
Oh. Well, we appreciate them being with us, of course, and have been for quite some time.
They have.
Matt Bryson has done a great job there and moved, I guess it's been a couple of years now, to 1506 West Main, and that is where you'll find Kubota tractors, hay equipment, zero-turn mowers, RTVs. They also have those X-Mark zero-turn mowers. And we're making you the tractor expert this morning.
Well, my son-in-law has a tractor from there. He has a Kubota. It's not real large, but every time I drive by with my grandson in the car, he'll say, "There's Daddy's tractor." So,
Well, one of the things that we have talked about, and especially with Clint for 2 or 3 times, and Matt mentioned it last week, the fact that the first 20 days of January, you may not be able to get parts. Now, they've got some stocked and all of this, but Kubota is going through a change. And it's going to take them 2 or 3 weeks to do this, first 20 days of January. So just be aware of that. You may have to wait if they don't have a part or something that you need. But they're there to help, and they're open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and they're closed on Saturdays during the wintertime. But you can find out more if you go to www.absolutekubota.com. You had any experience in purchases from Absolute, Susie?
Well, one thing that I did ask Clint a few weeks ago that he had not mentioned is through the holiday seasons, they carry more toys, and they've got the coolest little replicas of tractors. And so I'd say that they've probably closed most of those out. But I think it's a good point that they are closed on Saturdays through the winter. So that's something that you need to remember. They do a great job with service. It sounds like they can turn around, your product as quickly as anybody I've ever heard, if they can get the parts. But he did say that these first 20 days, might be a little bit slower.
Right. Yeah. Just be aware of that. One of the there's a couple of great lines that we use in our advertising from time to time, but one that was coined by a guy who's no longer there, but we enjoyed having him from time to time. He said they had everything from weed eaters to hay balers, which they do. And of course, here at the end of the year, write it off their lot, write it off your taxes.
That's right. They're right. They've got some good deals going. And another thing that they have mentioned recently that they really have not pushed, but I think they're getting more into it, is they are renting more items.
Right.
And so they've mentioned that more recently. They may have always done some because they
but that's
had been
one of
doing
the
that in the
things
past.
that I have not thought when I think of renting equipment. I have not necessarily thought of Absolute Kubota, but we probably need to mention that a little bit more often than we do. But they are in that, and you can, and then. Sometimes some of that rental equipment somebody likes so much they purchase.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Well, it's all right there at 1506 West Main. You can give them a call at 615-449-6171. The Kubota tractors, hay equipment, zero-turn mowers, RTVs, X-Mark zero-turn mowers. They do have Red Max outdoor power equipment, including chainsaws, grass trimmers, leaf blowers, edgers, and hedge clippers. And there's also Land Pride and Hustler brands. So, again, everything from weed eaters to hay balers. And they're open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. The website, again, is www.absolutekubota.com. Well, I guess that does it for
Thank
that.
you.
We have
appreciate
some
them.
people who are our guests here.
Now, I do know a lot about their establishment. Not running the business in, but I have frequented, and as have you, quite often. So
Well,
Welcome.
why don't you just introduce this couple here this morning for us?
Oh, well, we have wonderful friends to the radio station and to us personally, Jim and Gina Stradley. They are some of the hardest working people you have ever met.
And their businesses?
Their businesses are Sammy B's, but they've got a couple of locations. I'll let them explain it to you now.
All right. Well, Gina Stradley, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And Jim Stradley, welcome.
Morning, sir.
Welcome to our program. We've caught you early on a Monday morning. You normally up and going at this time?
Yeah, I try to get started somewhere between 4 and 5 in the morning, and I make it a general thing to kind of go in and check the locations out, and then I meet a group of people over at the Floyd Center 6 days a week, and we kind of walk and talk, and good to see that camaraderie over there. We've been doing that for about 10 or 12 years now. So,
Well, Gina, what about you?
I get up and piddle around the house for a little while and then make my way into work around 8 or 9 in the morning.
Well, how did it come about that you got into the restaurant business? And for those who are not familiar with Sammy B's, it's been here for quite a while. It's up there next to City Hall in the former Castle Heights Military Academy. That actual building has had some restaurants by different names.
Correct.
It didn't
Yes.
start out at Sammy B's, but it is now, and seems you're going strong. And now you've taken over. I think you've taken over the facility at the Country Club, and are doing that as well. So we've got a lot to talk about this morning, but how did it all begin, if I could ask that?
well, over a period of time, I am approaching 48 years in the restaurant business. So that's a long time, and first came to the Nashville area in the 1980s. I was transferred in. I was GM of Fridays on Elliston Place. Then I opened up Dalt's on White Bridge Road, which was part of Fridays then. Got transferred back out to Texas, and then came back early 80s into the Nashville area, and ran multiple companies for large and small organizations. And about, I guess 36, 37 years ago, we started our own business. And we started out as a catering business, and the name of that company was RSVP, and we've been a catering company ever since. So we have catered everything from country music artists to the Archbishop of Canterbury to governor's mansions to you name it. And we have been in Wilson County now, actually, I guess about 30 years. So we moved to Mount Juliet for a while, for 5 years on the lake, and then my accountant, who was an old person an accountant that practiced here and had a partner here in Lebanon, they had started a restaurant called Rademacher's, and that's at the location 705 Cadet. And our accountants were partners, and they were running into some issues because it was a new endeavor for them, and asked if I would help do some consulting, and I did. And spent the first weekend with them in October, which was Castle Heights Reunion, which was an eye-opening experience because that was my really first experience at that restaurant. Although I had catered the very first Phoenix Balls here when I was part of my operation in Nashville. So, I mean, I'd been to Lebanon before, but we came in and, I guess after the weekend, we were currently involved in Brentwood, in Nashville, in Hermitage, and in Hendersonville. We had 4 operations going at the time, as well as our catering business. And I said, I wish them the best, but I just don't have the time and the energy to help these folks. And had gone away to visit some family, got a phone call from a person that was working for me and said that Danny Evans would like to talk to me. And I felt, well, Danny Evans, $1.2 billion company with Cracker Barrel, I guess I can catch the next plane and see what he has to say. So we spent 2, 3, 4 hours discussing what was going on. And at the time, there was a large emphasis. The Mitchell House was under reconstruction. The auditorium was still there. One of our very first customers, as when we started our business, was the Broadway Dinner Train, which is the commuter rail that runs through Lebanon right now. And we also catered quite a bit for Opryland. So the plan was going to be that possibly excursions from Opryland could come to Lebanon, and we would use the facility of the auditorium possibly, because they were considering redoing it, as a large venue. And the feedery would be the restaurant Rademacher's. We ended up purchasing the property, and I was partners with Danny for a little over a year at that level. And while we were at that level, Lebanon Golf and Country Club had contacted us and asked us if we would take over the food and beverage for them. So we continued to expand our footprint in Lebanon, and we spent 14 years at the golf course on the first venture. And we kind of stepped away from any day-to-day operations after 12 months at Rademacher's, and that restaurant continued under Danny's tutelage and his son Meacham, and they went down that road. We stayed at the country club, and we always have been in club management as well. We had Cedar Creek Yacht Club at the same time, and Gallatin Country Club, and Lebanon Golf and Country Club, and our catering business. So we stayed plenty busy, and but we loved Lebanon, raised our family here, coached kids here, the whole bit. And so we have kind of grown into the community, and before you realize it, you've been someplace 25, 30 years.
Wow.
So,
and now we know your story.
That's the story.
Well, Gina, we're going to let you add to that, but we've got to go to a break first. Time for a break here on Coleman and Company, FM 98. Happens here.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. We want to thank our friends at Absolute Kubota. Premium brands require premium parts and service. Contact Absolute Kubota's Elite Certified Service Department to schedule an appointment. 449-6171. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Traffic's been lighter than normal out here this morning. Still moving at the moment. Where normally it'd be heavy by now on 24 westbound up through the Antioch area, coming in from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, headed towards Nashville. However, there is lots of radar all over Middle Tennessee, and you're going to see a lot of that over the next 24, 48 hours. When you need dependable towing here in Middle Tennessee, make sure you call STR Towing and Recovery. Check out their website, strtow.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing has experienced new leadership and a new atmosphere. Same location in the heart of Lebanon, 731 Castle Heights Court on the Castle Heights campus. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing is providing 5-star clinical outcomes to short-term and long-term care residents. Call 615-444-4319 for a tour and to experience the new culture. Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing.
Need a venue for your next corporate training, meeting, luncheon, or customer appreciation event? These are just a few of the event options that the Farm Bureau Expo Center can accommodate within its 79,000 square feet of adaptable event space. The Farm Bureau Expo Center offers unparalleled versatility for corporate events in Wilson County. Come on by and check us out. For booking details as well as upcoming events, visit farmbureauexpo.com or find us on Facebook. We look forward to seeing you soon at the Farm Bureau Expo.
And we continue here on this Monday morning. If you just joined us, Jim and Gina Stradley, Jim and Gina Stradley are with us, the owners of Sammy B's and Sammy B's Cadet Court. What's the official?
705.
705. But most people who've been here, you know where City Hall is, and it's right adjacent there. And but you're operating a country club restaurant as well. We'll get into that in a minute. But Gina promised to let you tell your story. What would you like to add to what Jim has already told us, and from what you have done and your point of view, perhaps?
Well, when we moved to Lebanon around 30 years ago, our children were young, and so I did a lot with them, still doing things in the business, but doing more with the children and their school and field trips and just working and taking care of home and the family, not in the business as much as I am now. As they grew and got older, then they worked for us, and all their friends worked for us, and now they're grown-ups. And so I emigrated more into the business and took on more and more responsibility with that. And just, we have been married, 36 wonderful years. And we work together every one of them. So it's been
What do you mainly do now?
I oversee the bookkeeping. I oversee the catering sales, and I pretty much oversee everything, work alongside Jim, making decisions and making things happen.
Okay, but you have the location at Cadet Court, and then you've more recently taken over the country club.
Correct.
Is it called Sammy B's as well, or is it have
It's
another
called
name?
Sammy's at the club.
Sammy's at the club.
And as I said, the first time at the club was 14 years, and country clubs have a way of boards changing, and when boards change, there's different direction that they take and things of that nature. So we left on good terms, and we had plenty of businesses going on, so that wasn't the issue. And we morphed back, brought Sammy B's back out, because the original Sammy B's was on Music Row in the 1990s. I mean, our very first customer there was Jimmy Buffett. Mm-hmm. We had, you name it, it was the hangout for everybody on the road.
It was 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah. And so it was a who's who, or who the great songwriters were. I mean, we had waitresses and bartenders that sang on records with Garth Brooks because he would come in, he knew the people. It was just an absolutely amazing situation, and was only open Monday through Friday.
For lunch.
For lunch.
It wasn't even open.
And so we had curtailed that operation after 5 years because Warner Brothers was the landlord. And at the time, they were thinking about, they had just put on their first wing, and they were getting ready to continue more construction in that area. But we're at the club 14 years, as I said. And when we left the club, we decided, well, let's bring Sammy B's out. The company was still in business. We just didn't operate it as Sammy B's. And we brought it out of the mothball, so to speak, and we moved for a short period of time to the mill.
Uh-huh.
And that was a different operation for us. The mill is a challenging piece of architecture.
We did a lot of catering there, too.
Yeah. And in the meantime, the name of Rademacher's had turned to the Chop House, which became whatever. It became a short period of time. I think it was called Sonny's. There was an Italian restaurant that went in there. And the building became available. And I said, well, here we are. Let's go back to where we started 25 years ago, to the same building.
Ironically, the first Sammy B's on Music Row was in a 3-story old building. So, and now we're
vertical
back in
challenges,
a 3-story
obviously.
Old building.
Never meant to be what they are, but they're vertically challenged. We decided once we had gotten back and Sammy B's was going on Cadet Court, we said, well, maybe we will join the country club and for some leisurely things like possibly play golf or whatever. Our kids are grown and they've moved on. And we spent, 2 months there or whatever, and we were approached would we consider taking back over the food and beverage operation. Because they had tried various venues and 4 or 5 different groups to come in, and they tried to run it themselves and found out it's not quite what it looks like it is on the surface. And so we said, well, we'll give it a try. So here we are making a 360, saying we would never go back to that situation. And 3 years ago, we went back. Uh-huh. So it is open to the public.
The restaurant is open to the public.
And the banquet facilities are open to the public. The golf course is still private members and everything, but we do cater to the membership as well as being open to the public.
Mm-hmm. And right now in the winter, our hours, we've cut back our hours a little bit just because it's so off the beaten path.
It's golf course oriented. So,
right.
So we've cut back on that, but we've had a tremendously busy November, December with all the private parties. So Sammy's has been going full blast. Our off-premise catering was going full blast. The club was going full blast. And everybody says, are you looking forward to Christmas? Well, 48 years into this business, holidays mean that we go to work. So I look forward to after New Year's, when we kind of regroup and regather and make a plan for the next year.
Well, you do have, it seems you have a lot of irons in the fire. How much of your time is spent in the catering part?
Well, I think they intermingle.
Like Jim has coined the phrase to me that we're not a restaurant that caters, we're a catering company that owns a restaurant. So,
we tried to have grown all the businesses equally. And the advantage with that is you're never successful unless you have the right staff. And staffing is everything. And for us, because let's say, for instance, the club business is somewhat seasonal. Winter times are normally slower. Spring, summer, and fall are busy. Well, in order to keep our staff working, the off-premise catering and things of that nature fall right into play, because now we offer these opportunities that they can pick up a catering gig with us and supplement their income. So we have been able to grow our staff to over 60 employees. Now, that's Gina's nightmare. So staffing is always the nightmare. It's always the plus. You can't do events without staffing.
And as catering, though, we're a large event caterer. We cater for thousands of people at a time, but we can also cater for 10 people as well. We do full service, chafing dishes, the whole 9 yards, or for smaller events, we can drop things off, barbecue, box lunches.
Well, got to mention one gentleman who, when I say his name, so many people's ears are going to perk up, no doubt. James Kaysen, the bartender.
Yeah, piece of work. Absolutely a piece of work, one of a kind. And he is as much a representation of Sammy B's as anything. He's definitely a figurehead. We have his picture hanging right next to the bar. He comes to work 3 days a week or 3 nights a week. He's always got a shirt and tie on. He represents himself perfectly. He represents what we wish we were all the time. And he's got a tremendous following of all age groups. And whether you've ever met him or the first time that you meet him, he treats everybody the way you should. So
yeah,
he is absolutely a treasure.
I know that a lot of restaurants have had, I guess, from COVID on, and maybe even before that, but it seems especially from then on, it's been harder to get and retain employees. Have you had that problem, and to what extent, if so?
It's a major, major problem. In addition with COVID, as Lebanon becomes closer and closer to Nashville, and Nashville becomes closer to Lebanon, you have the opportunity to work in Nashville if you're willing to fight the traffic and everything else to make great money, great money. The shifts probably pay 2 and 3 times what that same employee might make here in Lebanon. Now, you have to fight the hour-and-a-half commute. You have to pay the $30 to $40 a day parking. It's tough.
And you have to work a lot of hours and late nights to make that kind of money.
So that's one of the things. You have more hands reaching for the labor pool. Lebanon is positioning itself right now. Currently, I know of 4 or 5 major restaurants that will be in Lebanon in the next 12 months. And so when you look at a small labor pool to start with, it's going to get even harder to retain.
We're nearly out of time. We've got 2 minutes here, but we haven't really talked much about what there is to eat and your objective there. But you have some of the best filet I've ever eaten. I don't think I've ever had a better filet than I've had at Sammy
Well,
B's.
we hand cut all of our steaks in-house. We home make all of our salad dressings, all of our sauces. We try to maintain that because I think you can really tell and taste the difference.
We're old school when it comes to that. I mean, probably because I'm not very smart, but that's the only thing I learned. And we try to keep with that. And we've changed and tried to become more current. We put in a large salad bar that seems to work.
A couple of friends talked us into putting in a large salad bar, and it's been a game changer.
Yes.
It's been a game changer.
And one of my favorite restaurants back 50 years ago was Sperry's. And they do a salad bar that's comfortable and it kind of seems to work, and it's a gathering place. And so 3 months ago, we brought it in. I had to take walls down to get it in. And a lot of sleepless nights, whether we were going in the right direction or not. And so far, it's been paying off very, very nicely because it works well.
You mentioned your children. We got just time. Tell us quickly about your children.
We have two sons. Reese is 35 years old, and he's a DJ at downtown Nashville. He DJs rooftops at Whiskey Row, and he works at Garth's Place Friends. And he also does big events. They fly him all over the place. And our son Sam, he's in medical research.
Okay.
Completely different worlds.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. And your hours at Sammy B's.
We are open 7 days a week at Sammy B's. We open at 11 o'clock. We serve until 9 o'clock at night, Monday through Saturday. And on Sunday, we've just reopened on Sundays from 10:30 to 3 o'clock, full menu as well as some breakfast items.
And then catering available, call the Sammy B's number.
Yes, call the Sammy B's number, press option 2.
And then of course, you got the country club as well.
Yes, we do.
Sammy's
at the club.
Sammy's at the club. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Coleman.
Thank you.
Jim and Gina Stradley, and that is part one of Coleman and Company. We've got more. Please keep it right here, FM 98.9.
Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to our friends at Bates Ford and the Works Vehicle Checkup. They'll make sure your vehicle is ready for any road. It's $59.95 up to 5 quarts of oil, tax and disposal, tire rotation, and safety check. 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Only a couple of accidents out here in the last 15, 20 minutes. Still looks pretty good, actually, right now. Where normally it'd be heavy on 24 westbound up past Bell Road, coming up through Hickory Hollow Parkway in from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, up through the Brentwood, Franklin area. Not bad, with the exception of some radar south of Nashville through certain parts of Williamson County down into Murray County this morning. Lots of radar expected over the next 24, 48 hours. Hey, Prince's Hot Chicken has new items on the menu. Check them out today. princeshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Get a great deal on versatile Kubota equipment today, like the Kubota BX Series subcompact tractor, the #1 selling subcompact tractor in the U.S., Z-Series mowers, and Sidekick utility vehicles. Stop by your local Kubota dealer today. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 72 months, plus save up to $1,300. Now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main, Lebanon.
We'll have partly cloudy skies for today. Highs in the lower 60s. Partly cloudy tonight with showers moving in. Lows in the lower 50s. And then rain showers Tuesday morning. Mostly cloudy skies later in the day. Highs in the upper 50s. This weather forecast brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty. Professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. With your Severe View forecast, I'm Drew Richards.
So we're kind of...
And we welcome you to part 2 of Coleman and Company. It's a Monday morning. And by the way, after today, we've got a couple of days off, just like last week. The generosity of Susie. We will not be doing the program tomorrow and Wednesday, but back on Thursday and Friday. But today, we're going to finish as we always do. We started, we're going to finish, but part 2, we welcome Gail Hellam, Farm Bureau Expo Center Director of Marketing and Events. Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see you as always.
Well, good way to start rounding out the year for me.
How was your weekend?
Weekend was cold and busy. And it's kind of a long weekend. I took today off, so we're off tomorrow and Wednesday, just like last week. Mm-hmm. So I kind of have a long stretch. So I'm enjoying that.
Well, there's always something to talk about with you, with all that's going on at Farm Bureau Expo Center. It really is a busy place, and of course that's due to your efforts to invite people to come and and spend time and money there. Come to Lebanon for a convention, a get together, whatever the deal is, and of course. That's your job to see how many people you can get out there, and you've got a staff that has y'all really you work together and come a long way since you've been director. I think
it's changed. You can see if you were familiar with the ins and outs of it all before, you would see the changes. I think we've developed a great staff that. Both from the support and the event side, as well as my side of the deal, and we added a new person to the event side, so there's now 3 of them that support and work with Sundel. Actually 4. There's 4 that work with Sundel, and so that's made a difference. But that was necessitated by the increase in volume, which comes from my side of it. And we just added a new admin assistant as well. So, we've developed a great team, and I think that you see it, and I think you also see the fruits of our labor in the comments that we get back from our people.
What big event you got coming in January, or do you have a big one?
Well, you do. You would think that we would have a little bit more of a reprieve than what we do. So this weekend we roll right into Motorama, followed right behind with the RV show, and then we've got some smaller events that are filling the building on the following weekend, and then we're into dance teams and boat shows, and the calendar is packed for this year.
Gail, you have, I know part of, I think I know this, that you have wanted to maybe, I think there's an expression, expand your horizons. You wanted to maybe to bring some things in, to see some different events, different people use the facility for different things, kind of have a bigger variety, and I know you worked on that and achieved a lot of that, but the sky is sort of the limit there, isn't it?
It is, but to some degree, there is a capacity limit. The fire marshal keeps us in check.
Yeah, there's some things you can't do, but there are a lot of things you can, and a lot of them you've done, but there's probably a lot more you're hoping to do.
My big dream is to have a couple concerts out there.
Yeah.
That's my big dream, but that hasn't happened yet, and I always thought it'd be really cool, somebody that wanted to throw a great big party that would take up all of the main exhibit hall with lots of detailed decorations and stuff, just to show how you can transform a venue into something that you want it to be. I know from experience, I was a Navy wife for 15 years, and I was responsible for at least 3 years in coordinating the Intruder Ball. That was the name of the plane that my husband at the time actually was the Bombardier Navigator on. And we took parachutes and we completely transformed an airplane hangar. So I know it can be done. But that hasn't happened yet, and that's okay. There's other events that we have had come, and then there's events that I'm working on. And, I'm constantly, if something cancels or something falls through the cracks one way or the other because they've changed their mind or whatever, I'm looking for someone to fill that immediately. And I'm getting a little less promotion from dance teams, because if I open up some of that, it will help with a greater variety. So, yes, definitely very focused on that variety. I believe everybody in the county should have a reason to come to the expo, because it belongs to the entire county.
All right, we've about come to the end of our time here. Anything else you want to tell us before we let you go this morning?
Just wish everybody a very happy New Year. Thank you for your support throughout the year. And we're getting ready to rock and roll come this weekend. So we hope to see you at some point at some event.
All right. Great to have you. See you next Monday.
Sounds wonderful.
Gail Hallam, Director of Marketing and Events for the Farm Bureau Expo Center. And we're 22 minutes before the hour. Really, I think we could say the next gentleman here is a special guest this morning. Special in that he has taken over a position here, and this is the first opportunity to have Christopher Lawless to come and talk with us. Do you go by Christopher or Chris or?
I go by Christopher, yes, sir.
Christopher, good morning to you.
Morning.
And welcome. You have taken over as county planner. I don't know whether that's your official title, but the job that Tom Brashear had for a long time, you are now running that office and pretty much taking over what he was doing, right?
Yes, sir. I'm running the planning office. Tom was the development services director, so he was over 4 departments: stormwater, zoning, and building codes. They've kind of siloed those back out, and I'm just over the planning office.
Okay, so you haven't assumed all that he was doing.
Not all of the responsibilities, no, sir.
But you worked with him for a while.
Yes, sir. I was with him for almost 11 years. Under him.
Again, appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. When did you actually take over and become county planner?
Believe it was December 11th. It was about this Wednesday will be 3 full weeks.
Okay, all right.
Whenever that was.
Three full weeks on the job as county planner.
Yes,
but you'd worked with Tom for a while.
Mm-hmm. He's actually the one that hired me 11 years ago.
How long had you been in his office?
March 14th will be 11 full years.
11 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I think you told me you'd been out here once with him, I believe.
Yeah, I believe the first time I ever came out here to your show was probably May of 2014. It's been a while. That was the only time I've ever been here.
What has he had you doing prior to you becoming county planner? You've probably done maybe more than one thing, but
I started
since 2014. What have you done?
Well, I started as a planner, and then Tom he was a great mentor, a great boss, gave me opportunity to move up, and I had kind of moved up a little bit through the ranks, and right before he left, I was the assistant planning director, and then I applied after I found out he was leaving for the planning director job and went through the interview process with the county, and I was able to secure that.
Tom has been a friend of mine in several ways, but one of the good things was about Tom, if I was really searching for a guest, I could always call him, and I can't remember but once or twice in all the years that he couldn't make it, and he had something else that he had to do. His schedule wouldn't permit, but he was always available, and I appreciated that. And maybe you can be a little bit like that too, a go-to, if you will. But he didn't sit still. I mean, he was county planner for a long time, and then he gradually assumed these other positions,
Yep.
and I don't. You have to react with the public. You're not going to please everybody, but I've not heard. I don't know that I've really heard any criticism of the job that he did, and you were complimenting him as being a good boss, somebody good to work with. So he just had an opportunity to move on up and work with the state, and we congratulate him. But congratulations to you, at least being in place to come and be the county planner. And who knows, maybe you'll have 1 or 2 other responsibilities one of these days.
I'm sure they will come.
What are you doing? Any particular thing you're working on right now that we need to talk about?
We're still actively involved in the land use plan. We're hoping to wrap that up in the next 4 to 5 months, hopefully. That's one of the jobs we have. We're working through a core study on the Spencer Creek watershed. That's our final meeting's supposed to be at the end of February, and that's supposed to be active roughly 4 to 6 months after that, after the Corps gets their findings approved by FEMA. So those are 2 big projects that are in the hopper at the moment. And the land use plan, after it's finished, we'll have to discuss maybe a complete overhaul of our zoning ordinance, because the one that we're operating off of is bits and pieces of the one from 74. It was modified greatly in 2006, but it wasn't changed. So we've been amending that ever since. So it's kind of been bits and pieces have changed here and there, but that would probably be the next big project after these 2 wrap up.
All right, Christopher, I want to bring up something that just took place the last county commission meeting, and a very hot topic on a lot of people's minds, and you know where I'm headed here.
Yes, sir.
The proposed industrial park out at Tucker's Crossroads. The Planning Commission had voted 8-2, I believe it was, to continue
for a negative recommendation.
Sorry.
For a negative recommendation, the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
To keep it agriculture and not change the zoning and whatever. And then, of course, the county commission does have the last word. But from your position as county planner, I suppose you, as much as possible, are independent. You don't have a political.
I don't have a political agenda.
Bent either way. You just follow the law and what you feel is good for the county. But there are times you make recommendations yourself, I'm sure, and people talk to you. But is it your opinion or whatever when the Planning Commission makes a recommendation or votes overwhelmingly like they did here, is it a slap in their face to carry this to the county commission necessarily?
It could be yes and no. I mean, the Planning Commission is supposed to make a recommendation based off of our land use plan. The county commission then say that the Planning Commission makes a negative recommendation. The county commission has the ability to apply justification or common sense maybe to some things if they fit well within the character of the area. The Planning Commission's recommendation is solely supposed to be issued based off the direction of the land use plan. The county commission is not tied to that same document.
Okay.
And that's where my recommendations come from. Now, does the Planning Commission always follow that? No, it's not going to be possible. But
your recommendation goes to the Planning Commission?
My recommendation goes to the Planning Commission. Okay. And my recommendation will always follow whatever's the letter of the law that we're enforcing at that time. Mm-hmm. The Planning Commission will make a recommendation. They're encouraged to follow that, but they don't have to. And then the County Commission, they have the ability to do what they see as fit.
Right. Mm-hmm. Were you involved in this in the earlier stages then?
I've been involved in this probably since it started, which was June of 2023, I think, is when we first heard rumblings about it. So it's been in the works a little bit.
Mm-hmm. To what extent were you involved?
I was writing the recommendations and compiling all the documents that we require for a rezoning request. And then, as most recent, I got to present the public hearing at the County Commission in December.
All right, we need to take a break. Christopher Lawless, our county planner, is my guest, and we'll talk more in a moment. This is Coleman & Company, FM 98.9.
Let's see what's happening on the roadways, and it's all brought to you by Bates Ford, and get $50 off $250 repair offer to owners of 4 to 10-year-old Ford, Lincoln, or Mercury vehicles. Bates Ford, 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Looks like it was tied up and running slow at Whites Creek Pike at Tony Road just a few minutes ago. Still moving right now, coming in from Clarksville through the Jolton area there on 24 eastbound at Whites Creek Pike. Still looking good at the moment. It's been light to moderate on 65 up through Williamson County from Franklin into Brentwood. Hey, when you need dependable towing for your car or big truck here in Middle Tennessee, make sure you call STR Towing and Recovery. Check them out at STRTow.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
The Dancing Lights of Christmas, Tennessee's largest, longest-running, and most affordable drive-through light and music show is back. We're talking 3 million lights spanning a 2.5-mile route, all synchronized to some of your favorite Christmas tunes. After the lights, Santa's Village is loaded with food and fun, a petting zoo, pictures with Santa, even a helicopter ride above the lights. Take the short drive out to the Wilson County Fairgrounds to make some Christmas memories that will last a lifetime. Open 5 p.m. nightly through January 4th. More info at thedancinglightsofchristmas.com. Family owned and operated for over 15 years.
Hey, this is Dr. Derek Gregory, and I'm proud to announce to you the opening of our brand new dental practice, Gregory Dental Group, at 1746 West Main Street, just across the road from Sports Village. Come experience modern dentistry at its best. We're always welcoming new patients, and I truly look forward to taking the best care of all your dental needs. Come by or call us today.
That's Gregory Dental Group, 615-444-0322, or online at MyLebanonTNDentist.com. Gregory Dental Group, compassion, knowledge, skill.
Does
We continue here on a Monday morning. Thanks for joining us. Christopher Lawless is here, and if that name doesn't ring a bell, it's probably going to in the future. He is our county planner and been working with Tom Bashir, I think you said since 2014.
2014.
So some 10 years or close to it.
Mm-hmm.
And he is now our county planner. The other jobs that Tom had assumed, somebody else is doing them, at least for now,
Yes,
or will be. I guess all of that is kind of up to Mayor Hutto to appoint the people, but he liked Tom enough to give him some added responsibility after
He
a
did.
while.
And 7 years ago, he felt he was worthy of that.
And that really paved the way for you, didn't it, to get your feet wet and more responsibility, and at least in the planning part.
It did. I had to take more responsibility over in the planning department just due to Tom's other duties. I mean, he wasn't always there, and he was handling a lot more issues than what we previously discussed.
Christopher, I don't think we talked about this in the beginning, and let's go back and where are you from? Where'd you go to school? Tell us a little bit about that, if you will.
I'm originally from southern Indiana. Floyd Knobs is the town I was born and raised in. I went to school at Ball State, not to confuse with Vol State. It's up in Muncie, Indiana.
B-A-L-L, Ball State. You hear about them in sports from time to time.
So, every once in a while. Maybe swimming or baseball. David Letterman's alma mater. That's the easiest way to remember it. That's up in Muncie, Indiana. And then I moved down to Lebanon in 2014, and I've been here ever since. And then 3 years ago now, my family and I, we moved to Watertown.
Well, tell us about your family.
My wife, Katie, I've been here 11 years, so we've been married for 10 years. I've got 3 kiddos. I've got the oldest is a boy, Bennett, and then 2 girls, Harper and Hadley, 6 and 3.
How old's the boy?
He's 8.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, you just got started good.
And he's an avid swimmer at 8.
Any particular sports or activities like that, golf or fishing, that you have taken up, or are you just busy taking at home?
I don't do a lot of heavy sports anymore. The only thing I still keep together in hobby is bowling, which I don't know if people down here consider that a sport or not, but that's the only thing I'm still actively doing at this point.
What the future of your job? I mean, we need a county planner. That's what you're doing now, and you mentioned earlier some things that are supposed to get done here fairly soon. But as you look ahead, and as we plan, I mean, we've been dealing with growth for quite some time. Well, I guess you've seen probably in 10 years the brunt of the growth in the last 10 years. So it's nothing you are unfamiliar with and have had your share of. Just wondering, from your point of view, how the future looks. What are there changes that we need to employ to make to deal with the growth?
Well, there will be some changes, and it's still probably going to be rough. If projections are correctly, which we have consultants and the census, I mean, we're projected to get 60,000 people over the next 20 years, which they would have to go somewhere if those projections are correct. So it's still going to be a lot of heartburn, and there's going to be a lot of growing pains. No pun intended there, but...
Well, there's kind of been a move afoot, and I think especially here in Lebanon and the county too. There's been some rulings about how big a lot has to be, and I'm sure comes out of your planning office.
We've significantly increased the minimum lot size for in the county to help kind of push or guide those residences or that density into the cities where the infrastructure is currently there. It's easily more handled there. It's more efficient to put them there as opposed to spreading them out and adding a lot of long infrastructure routes for the county to handle. And that is still at present. There could be, depending on this land use change, there may be another zoning change depending on what comes about this. I won't know for another 4 or 5 months, but that could be something that even decreases the density in the county even more. I can't answer that 100%, but that's a possibility.
I think a lot of us, it certainly includes me, wonder how long or can we, do we want to even, and personally, I don't like to see a lot of our agriculture land going for something else, and I don't know what the future holds there. And I don't know for sure even who's going to determine that totally. I mean, if more and more people want to come, and if there's people that's got land that wants to sell and wants to have people building homes on it, and all of this, it's kind of hard to stop. And should we stop it? I mean, I guess that's a big question too. What that all plays into what you do.
Yeah, you won't be able to stop it if people are willing to sell. That's the biggest thing. I mean, everybody has the land use rights there. We can limit the amount of people that their ability to live on those. And I mean, I come from a rural upbringing. We had a 90-acre farm up in Indiana. I mean, and it tears me apart every time I review one of these and see that it's going to be 250 homes. But, that's just a person exercising their land use right. We can in the future kind of limit that. But if people are willing to sell, I don't have a way to prohibit it.
Yeah, but I guess in the back of my mind, what bothers me a little bit is if we continue to take up our good agriculture land, we've still got to eat. People have to eat.
That is correct.
We've got to grow fruits and vegetables and food, and that could. I know there's still a lot of land in the USA and maybe all over the world that's capable of producing food, but we just see a lot of that being taken.
And that might just be with maybe smarter growth per se, or cluster development, like allowing people, if they're going to develop, but requiring them to preserve a certain percentage of it. That might be something that we have to lean for going forward. And it would allow maybe people to get the same density that they always wanted, so they're not feeling like their land use rights are being violated, but it would allow those homes to be clustered in a smaller footprint on the land, and then the rest of the land can be preserved for that agricultural aspect, or letting it go back naturally, depending on how it's laid out.
How concerned are you about this? You personally, really? Does that seem to be a problem to you necessarily?
I don't know about the food aspect that you brought up, but I do have the concerns with the farmland going away and the mass sizes, and making the lot sizes larger. That doesn't always necessarily a fix. It just means you have larger houses, because if you put homes on a farm, they're probably not farming regardless of the size of the lot. They're cutting it with a mower. So that's not always the best fix. Yes, you'd have less people, but they're still doing the same thing as more people would on that same farm. So it's going to be all about getting public education out there on how to do little homesteads if you buy these mini farms, or the zoning part for our office is just being able to consolidate those into a smaller footprint, so we can actually have the farming aspect on the larger portions of these big farms.
Christopher, what are some of the other things maybe you either are dealing with or anticipate dealing with in the next 2 or 3 or 5 years?
Well, the zoning ordinance will be a big one. That will be a 2-year endeavor in itself. Subdivision regulations could possibly come up depending on what changes come to the zoning ordinance. And then there will be some TDOT improvements throughout the county as the county continues to grow that I'll have to handle in my office as well.
We've got our state legislature will be reconvening here in another week or two.
I think 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 or 3 weeks from now, anyway. What I was going to ask you, how attuned are you to with our local legislators, first of all, and with the legislature in general? I feel sure you pay some attention to what they do, but does what they do have a lot to do with what you do, I guess is what I'm wondering.
Some laws they pass do. Some of them don't affect us at all. Most recently, laws that affect us are when they try to define things more clearly and they end up making them way more broad. Hence, like the definition of agriculture. If you try to look at that in state law, you can define that 9 ways to Sunday. But every time they try to define something to make it either more clear or trying to broaden it to make it less potent for the residents of Tennessee, it makes my job a lot more difficult because I then have to define it against our zoning ordinance that may have it defined completely differently, but state law is going to take precedent over our stuff.
Well, I think legislators look at things maybe from a little bit different view. That politics are involved more there than they are, or at least supposed to be, with your office, and I'm sure that's the way it is.
Yeah. The Housing Authority has a big pull at the legislator. There's some other big departments that I'm sure do. They seem to help bend the rules, or not bend the rules, but make the new rules that we then have to enforce and apply to our zoning codes. And
do you have? We this have to be short. We've got about a minute, but do you have a lot of people come to your office with questions? You get a lot of people from the public inquiries.
There's not a lot of people that come into the office anymore. I mean, I'd say on an average day, we probably only have 4 or 5 visitors that come in, but the phone rings off the hook on most days. Yeah. And I'm thankful for the staff that I have. There's 4 of us in the office at present. But that takes up a lot of time as well with coordinating the bigger projects, the monthly planning commissions and the Board of Zoning Appeals meetings for these projects that you see, such as the Linwood case coming.
Yeah. So your phone does ring a lot, and I'm sure if you can't answer it, you return calls. So
I do. I was off all last week, and I've got probably 6 voicemails just from Friday that I saw.
Well, have fun. Thanks for being with us, and we'll do it again one of these days.
No problem, sir. Thank you.
Our county planner, Christopher Lawless. That's it for a Monday. And until Thursday, I wish you a magnificent day.